Before I get into Postecoglou's pop at Arteta, I can't help but comment on what was one of the most bizarre Premier League games of all time. There were 5 goals, another 5 chalked off, 2 red cards with the potential for about 3 more, a grand total of 9 VAR checks, and a staggering 21 minutes of stoppage time across both halves. Perhaps most incredible, however, was Big Ange refusing to compromise on his principles by playing a high line, despite being down to 9 men. Especially when you consider Spurs' centre-back partnership was a backup defensive midfielder playing alongside a bloke who hasn't featured in a single minute of football all season. Personally, I thought that was kamikaze stuff and would have liked to see a bit more pragmatism, but the very best managers tend to be stubborn, so fair fucks to Ange for coming out with the following quote: "It's just who we are, mate. As long as I'm here, that's what we're going to do. Even with 5 men, we'll have a go." Now, that wasn't the only surprising soundbite that came out from the man post-game. Unlike his fellow managers, Postecoglou claims the following: that referees deserve more protection, he doesn't like the forensic analysis of every decision, feels that officials are losing their authority, and reckons that in their search for utopia, the Premier League have dropped a bollock with VAR. He then goes on to have a dig at the likes of Arteta and Klopp by stating that Premier League managers should focus on their own tactics instead of trying to bend the rules by finding a way around them. While I appreciate the fact that Ange is one of the very few stand-up individuals in the footballing world, and absolutely love the way he carries himself, I think he's been far too charitable with his remarks here. The piss-poor refereeing standards have gotten to the point where everyone's talking about the in-game decisions in the Prem as opposed to the actual football, so something's got to give. Now, it goes without saying that the statements put out by Arsenal and Liverpool were self-serving in nature, but they're not wrong either. There's millions of pounds at stake, and everyone involved needs to be held to account for their respective jobs, whether it be coaches, players, backroom staff, or officials. Obviously, Ange comes from a bygone era where referees were treated like policemen, but the cat's been out the bag in that regard for the best part of 20 years now. As for pundits like Gary Neville, I'm flabbergasted that he's calling out the Premier League to act and protect referees while labeling the statements from Arsenal and Liverpool as dangerous. All fans want to see is VAR utilized in the way it was at the Qatar World Cup, and frankly speaking, it's not that difficult to pull that off, and the last thing officials need is even more protection than they're already getting. Take literally any other sport and you'll see they're mic'd up and expected to explain their thought process. I'm watching the Cricket World Cup daily right now, and not once has the chatter post-match been about the officials, which is what you get when technology is being operated by those with common sense. Last but not least, I thought Arteta's rant was class. As much as I wanted Arsenal to lose to Newcastle, it's a complete and utter shambles that Anthony Gordon's goal was allowed to stand, and to see some brutal honesty in his press conference at a time when you get boring cliched bullshit was pure box office. I won't be holding my breath on it, but change is most certainly needed. Otherwise, fans genuinely might be put off from tuning in if this trajectory continues. Do let me know your own thoughts down below, and I'll catch you in the next one, folks. Peace.